everybody, this is Chaos with Chaos Esports Productions, bringing you another Bronze to Masters League Series game. Today we're going to be looking at a PvT here on Polar Night. I am going to be spawning in the lower bottom corner, and today we're going to be doing a little bit of discussion on harassment style playing versus passive macro style playing. Now, there are pros and cons to both of these, so we'll get a little bit into the discussion of that, as well as we'll also talk a little bit about game sense and how you can develop your own game sense skills when you play StarCraft, and as you progress up the ladders, things that you should think about, and just understand what you're scouting and what the avenues that your opponent could potentially go with. So we're going to go ahead and speed things up to 2 times just to get through the beginning of this. We're going to go around, do a little bit of scouting with our probe initially, going to check out, make sure there's no proxy barracks hiding anywhere too terribly close. I'm going to come in here, take a hold of the watchtower, and continue on up to our opponent's base. Now, we're going to slow it down now, and we're going to say, okay, so Vision says that we only see his barracks. Now, when we get in here pretty easily and don't have to deal with any denied supply depot, you have to think about a couple different things. First of all, is your opponent late in timing? Especially in Bronze and Silver League, you might run into an opponent who might not be fully acclimated with the normal build styles and things like that. So he might be a little bit slower than normal, which means you might be able to play off that to your advantage. When I came in here, the first thing that I thought was, wow, that barracks isn't done. I'm really surprised. And actually we see him going ahead and following up with a 3 racks, which actually I didn't quite know. And I'm actually kind of surprised now that I see it. I'll show you here in a moment. So basically, yeah, so he went for a 1 rack CC, and basically behind that wants to play seriously aggressive by getting up a couple more racks really early, maybe for some potential early pressure and things like that. So behind this we're playing pretty standard. Got up our normal build timing. All of that will be in the show notes down below. And then went ahead and went into our expanded. Now, this game I decided to try a Blink Stalker harassment style into High Templar. Gives you the flexibility of still having that area effect damage unit out fairly quickly, but also gives you the potential to do some pretty decent damage with your Blink play as long as you're paying attention to what's going on. So we'll take a look and see how that goes. We'll go ahead and speed it up now a little bit more. Going to be getting out our second gateway, continuing on getting out our probes. Now, I kind of feel like with this build, I tend to be a little bit lower on units in the early game, and had my opponent actually pressured me with these 3 racks, which, as we can see, he's kind of going for super upgrade defensive. I think he's expecting a Stargate. Maybe he's just used to that. I don't know. But since he's playing defensive, these not having too many units out too terribly early isn't really the end of the world for me. And basically we're just going to be continuing on getting our probes. Blink's already on the way, and then we immediately throw down the Templar Archives once Blink is started and we feel comfortable planning that down. No sign of pressure, things like that. So we're going to be queuing up my Stalkers and my Mothership Core here shortly. I had some issues with my hotkeys down below, so going to be getting out a handful more Stalkers. Going to send out a probe to plant down a pylon just in case I want to do 1 or 2 extra warp ends, and then obviously that also gives me a forward pylon for later on in the game. So we're going to come in here now. I'm going to slow that down a little bit. Look at our vision. So basically, we've got a pretty good idea. We actually get a lot of SCV kills here up front. And now we're kind of on the, okay, I'm going to start backing off and put myself into a position where I can blink out. Unfortunately, he actually went ahead and got me into this corner. Only 2 of my Stalkers blinked out. And I was trying to get out 1 more, but I do end up losing 2 of the Stalkers. And the Mothership Core does get out of there just nearly. So, yeah, so overall, by playing this way, we force our opponent to have to pull his army back to defend off the attack. If he had moved out while I was doing this little stunt, he would have to make the conscious decision of whether or not to retreat and attempt to cut me off, or just go straight for my main base. Now, I'm going to be warping in things back here in the back. I've got enough energy for a recall if need be, so that is why this is pretty safe. Basically, as long as you make it out there with majority of your stalkers that you go in with, I would say that you're going to trade very, very favorably. So I'm going to go ahead and get back into it, getting up our geysers. As we can see, we've been doing a pretty good job keeping our pro production, as we're pretty much fully saturated. Once the simulator gets done, I throw some guys in it. And at this point, he's actually going to start to move out here. Now, at this point, I'm very, very stalker heavy, which is probably not too terribly good. Stalkers tend to be probably the lesser useful unit once you get into the later games. So, thankfully, when he came in here and saw my army, he was just like, yeah, I don't want any part of that. High Templars are almost out. Storm is about 30 seconds away from being done. So we're going to be into a really good position to have our Storm out and also start to get our charge. And basically, this is kind of that transition from the Blink Stalkers to a Zealot Archon type composition. So we're going to be focusing very, very heavily on getting out charge as quickly as possible, as well as our gateways. Now, in this game, I actually didn't get my upgrades terribly fast. This is since you're playing a little bit more aggressively and focusing on microing the small little things here and there, you tend to, you tend to be pressured into choosing, what actions make the most sense. In this case, obviously, with everything that was going on, I was like, I feel pretty good about getting up my, full gateway count to 8. 8 is kind of my favorite count. I find it to be a very utilitous number of gateways, just because it gives me the option to do like rounds of 4 as opposed to rounds of 3. I think it's just a little bit better. So I'm going to be warping in some more High Templar and Zealots, as well as expanding. And basically at this point, it's just a matter of keeping tabs on our opponent and trying to figure out what he's doing. As I mentioned before, with the early game scout and what he went for, I knew he was a little bit late with his barracks, and he went straight into a CC, which means I'm not going to be dealing with early pressure, which means I have the option of potentially being, a little bit aggressive with the Blink Stalkers, and then, now it's just a matter of me getting in here scouting. I do get in here and actually get a peek at his upgrades, which he is now at 1-0. That's kind of about the time where I'm like, okay, I need to start pumping out the upgrades pretty quick. So, gonna go ahead and get our third base, and also keep tabs on his third base. Obviously, we've got this forward pylon here for warping in some zealots or a zealot to throw at his potential third. Basically, at this point, we're just keeping tabs of our opponent. We have a pretty good idea what his army composition is. We know he's very Marine Marauder heavy. We haven't seen any medevacs, which is kind of interesting. So he was a little, actually significantly behind on his medevac production, because usually that comes down around the 10-minute mark. So he's going to send out a Marauder to try and deal with my Zealot, and my Zealot, even though he has 1-1, my Zealot actually wins this, which is kind of funny. But going to be sending out Hallucinated Phoenix once again, and basically just, keep tabs on your opponent. Nothing says that you can't just spend a handful of energy, especially off of sentries that you made at the very beginning of the game, just to get a good idea of where your opponent's at, what he's going for, if there's anything weird that he's doing. You never know what your opponent might do. So he's going to be moving out here, takes out a pylon. I'm going to put myself into a position, since I know where his army is, I'm putting myself into a position where I could potentially see his army, but also give me that edge if he does walk through one of these avenues to try and flank my third base or things like that. it gives me a very, very good position to engage that. And with this many storms, kind of going to be difficult for me to not win the engagement. So I believe at this point our upgrades are now tied up. So we're definitely looking pretty good. This is about the time where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try and push an engagement and see whether or not he's paying attention. His units have been sitting here for a pretty long time, and you see he waits until like the very last second to hit that stim and try and get out of there. So I'm more than happy to go ahead and storm that and then start pecking away at his third base. Do get the cancel off on his third base, and I'm feeling pretty good about it. So we're up to 4 bases. Fourth base is on the way. And we're just feeling comfortable at this point. We did a pretty good job of just keeping tabs on our opponent, understanding, okay, here's what he's doing, here are the things that we have to worry about, and what are his options going forward. Now, this is about the time, I believe, where I'm like, okay, I think we're gonna do a little Stargate transition just for fun. So I go ahead and plant down some Stargates on the way, since we're pretty far ahead and there's really not much that we have to worry about. We can pretty much just move into our opponent and win. He does move out with a small little task force, and they're more or less just going to run away. And then at this point, we're going to get some big stormers, and yeah, that's more or less going to be it for this guy. So GG. All went well. Getting up the Archons and basically gonna just storm in here and take him out. So yeah, so basically what did we learn from this? So the biggest thing is, one, being able to read your opponent and understand what he's what he's got up his sleeve. We saw with the relatively late barracks that he might not be as an experienced player as we might have hoped, but him going straight for the CC says, oh, he's actually looking to go into the mid game, into the later stages of the game. So I wasn't pressured to foregate him or anything like that, just because it's like, okay, if he's gonna play that way, I'll go ahead, take my expansion, and then just play a little bit. I wouldn't say aggressive, just kind of distracting. Going in with the Blink Stalkers back here, getting off a whole bunch of SCV kills really early. And basically just handling the game very well. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Feel free to leave any of your comments down in the comment section below. Be more than appreciative for that. Also, feel free to check out the show notes, which are also down there at the bottom. There'll be a link that'll say show notes next to it. Feel free to check that out. I'll have the entire build, as well as a little bit more discussion about some of the things we talked about in a little bit more in depth, just to give you guys up to speed with where you guys need to improve. So one other thing, feel free, if you haven't already checked it out, down in the description there's an email address, replays.se2.chaos@gmail.com. Feel free to send your replays to that, and I'd be more than happy to cast one of your games. I do that quite frequently for other people, and a lot of people seem to enjoy it. So I hope you guys utilize that. More than happy to do that for you guys. Also, if you're new to the channel, welcome. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope that you got something out of this. Feel free to go ahead and hit that subscribe button down in the lower left hand corner if you did, and check out some of my other content here on YouTube. Also, feel free to go ahead and hit that like button and share with your friends on Facebook and Twitter. Help out your friends trying to learn Protoss. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys in the next game.